Thanks for hanging out with us today. We do appreciate you. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. That's Barrett. That's Derek. I am Rob, hanging out with you on this Thursday. All right, so let's hit a little NFL, guys. I know we generally do it a little bit later in the show, but a couple of interesting odds and ends here. So this was interesting. Tyreek Hill was on a radio station. It was 8:30, I think it is. I'll find the exact station that he was on today. But basically said a couple different things. He said, it was 810 Sports Talk Radio in Kansas City. He said, I'm going to finish out this contract with the Dolphins. Then I'm going to call it quits. I want to go into the business side. I want to do so many things with my life, bro. He's out. He claims, at least. He was traded to the Dolphins, if you remember, signed a 5-year, $120 million extension. It made him the highest paid receiver in the NFL in terms of what we call the AAV, the annual average salary. He said, so I really want to get into like the gaming space. I really want to get huge in that. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm using my platform, creating a gaming team, which isn't launched yet. It should launch by the end of the month. And I'm going to sign like different content creators, different athletes, et cetera. He claims he's done. You guys buying it?
The money's just too good right now, bro. You can't stop that money, man. Once the money stops, then I can see him doing it. But while that money's still hot, he's still the fastest thing out there. I can't see him losing all his speed within the next 2 years.
I think he's got one more in him. I think he's got one more contract in him.
Yeah. At the end of this contract, he'll be 31, 32.
Yeah, he's got one more in him.
For dude, and somebody out there is desperate enough to probably offer him more money than he's imagining right now. Even if it's not the type of contract he's sitting on right now, it's still going to be. And if he walked away from the game at 32, would he look back and say, like a Barry Sanders, and say, man, I wish I had done this? I mean, even if he continues on the course he's on, if he walked away from the game at 31, 32, his numbers are good enough to get him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Maybe not first ballot because you want to move, but he some of his people might start talking to him. Dude, you're like number 7 on the all-time receiving list. You could 1 or 2 more years, you can move up to number 4, number 5. That might be appealing to him, to keep playing. And if somebody offered him, let's say, $50 million over 3 years, 40 million over 3 years, and 20-something million guaranteed. At 31, 32, how do you turn your nose up at that, man?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I never, to me, Barry Sanders, Megatron, other guys we've seen walk away, I give them total props, man. They could have gotten a lot more money, but they put their health, above that, and I applaud them. So if he does it, cool. I mean, good for you. I have zero issue with that. I'm not thinking, hey, whatever. But anyway, so he this is pretty funny. So keep in mind, he's on a radio station in Kansas City. So he said what his message would be for Kansas City Chiefs fans, his former team, they're on the schedule to go there this year. Miami is. He said, Chiefs Kingdom, when the Miami Dolphins come to Arrowhead this year, guess what we're going to do? Guess what we're going to do? I hate to say it, man. I hate to throw up the peace sign against y'all. I hate to do it, but guess what? I'm going to be y'all worst enemy that day. And then let me see if I can find it, because Frank Clark, Chris Jones chimed in, basically saying, take your peace sign and shove it where the sun don't shine. Essentially. Yeah. So that's going to be a fun one, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do you think Steve Spagnuolo is going to allow him to come in there and embarrass Kansas City? Spagnuolo is going to have 6 dudes blanketing him, man. They'll give up the running game all day.
Then Jalen Waddle goes bananas,
Well, that's what'll happen.
That's all right.
You know what I'm saying? Stop one, you can't stop them all.
Right. If I'm Spagnuolo, I'd rather have Waddle catch 12 passes for 300 yards than to let Tyreek Hill beat me.
I hear you.
When it's your former team, man. This is like the dagger. It'll get your GM fired, man. Go ahead and ask the Titans' old GM. You know what I'm saying?
Oh boy.
Who was the one team, B. Brooks, you wanted to get back at?
No question. It was the Eagles. No question.
Okay.
Yeah. Your first one. Yeah.
They gave my shot. They gave my opportunity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to go out there and at least make a good showing, especially when you're in your old house too.
Yep.
Like, you walking in, you want to just go into your old locker room. But you can't do that, man. You know what I'm saying? I was in the opposing locker room. I never played in the vet. As a I didn't come to play in the vet as a
road team.
Road team, yeah.
You never did. It never played out that way. That's crazy.
No, it is crazy. It is crazy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. All right, we didn't get into this yesterday, and it's good because we had tons of other stuff going on. But this story, excuse me, between the Arizona Cardinals and Terry McDonough, who used to be one of their front office people, is nuts. So McDonough went after them in arbitration for, I guess, wrongful fire.
Termination. Yeah.
Termination. Right. And threw a lot of stuff out there, man. Like a lot of stuff. Like Bidwell, the owner, essentially berating like pregnant women, like a lot of burner phones with Steve Keim, who was suspended at the time, where you're not supposed to have any contact with him. He claims he still has the burner phone, by the way, with the texts and stuff on it, and a lot of other stuff, just to name a few. Generally, when this happens, organizations basically say, we vehemently refute what Mr. McDonough had to say, and we will be happy to fight this in a court of law, or some lawyer speak stuff. No, the Cardinals just opened up and went after him too, like full guns ablazing. So, this one's going to be really, really fascinating. What happens with this arbitration hearing, because it's going to be no holds barred. Like everyone is just going to come out like, there's going to be a lot of shots fired. I can tell you that much with these two. Because McDonough hasn't worked since it happened. Yeah,
dude came out and said he still has the burner phone with the evidence on it.
Yep.
If I'm the organization,
I shut up.
Thank you.
It doesn't do you any good to get into frankly, a pissing match with this guy.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
We it's ridiculous. It's unfounded. We deny this. You know what? If somebody, even if it's like playing poker, when you sit across from somebody, you don't know what they have in their hand. Mm-hmm. And they keep upping the ante. You don't know if they're bluffing, if their hand is that solid, but you're not going to tip your hand right now,
right? Until
the final moment. Why would you come out and say, "Oh, he's full of it"? Dude, don't egg him on. He's already ticked off.
Yep. And here's the other component to this. Do you guys remember those surveys that anonymously the players answered those surveys? Which organization's the best? Who takes care of their people? You remember all that?
Oh yes.
And the Eagles had mostly great grades. I think there was one thing about like
C or C minus, something like
family.
that.
You say the way they took care of the family wasn't as high.
Yeah, and it was like for one specific thing. I forget the Eagles didn't do well anyway, but most of the other stuff was good. The Cardinals almost like uniformly across the board ranked like dead last in everything. Like in terms of those people being intimidated in the front office. Like, so they did this survey when McDonough was still there, separate from the NFL. It was strictly an organizational survey. And almost every employee answered, "I'm afraid to answer this honestly for fear of backlash from the owner," basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's like a lot. There's a lot here with this. And I'd be real careful, man, if I'm the Bidwells and ownership with this thing. This feels like a powder keg where he could get like Daniel Snydered here, where he could just get blown up. We'll see.
Daniel Snyder's still hanging on, so he still got his team, man.
Good point.
Which is crazy to me because you look at the guy that owns Amazon. He said, "Don't count me out just yet."
Yeah, Bezos is like, dude, I'm not done.
Yeah. Don't count me out just yet.
Yeah.
The Bidwells are fortunate that Snyder has taken a lot of the onus away from them.
Yes,
right.
Because this Snyder thing, anytime you mention the Snyder thing, it automatically jumps to the forefront and takes a lot of pressure away from any other, wrongdoings that a football team is doing. What the Bidwells have been accused of doing through the years and allegedly have done is atrocious in itself. If what these former employees are saying about the organization. It has to be addressed, as it was with the Phoenix Suns. Look what happened with the Phoenix Suns. Yep. That owner sold that team real quick. Mm-hmm. He stepped down and sold it real quick. Sometimes what's that saying? You just have to learn to live to fight another day.
Yep.
Pick and choose your battles wisely. You got to be smart about this.
Well, we already know they're not a smart organization anyways. Anytime you drop a contract with the player and tell him he's got to stay off video games and put this much time into anytime you got to put that in a contract, you don't need to be signing that player to a contract. That's number one. Number two, now you're locked into that contract, and you took out the stuff in the contract about him at least studying 4 hours. That was stupid. You know what I'm saying? That was
bad luck.
For them to go out and get a coach from college that nobody else has wanted. Nobody else wanted him. And got him in there, and he did nothing in that organization. It's just another it's just a farce on what you had. There was no way their last head coach should have been a head coach in the NFL when he couldn't even do anything in the Big 12.
I was laughing.
No.
Couldn't do anything in the Big 12.
Couldn't do anything with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right.
Anything else? At the college level.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know what's going to happen with that one, but I'm going to be interested to see some of that testimony. That's going to be really, really interesting. All right. John Elway's out with the Broncos. It's not really a big deal. It's kind of a mutual decision. He was working as a consultant the last couple of years, and just said, "Look, I think he's 62 or whatever. I'm 62. I have a lot of stuff I want to do. It's all good. If I'm here, if they need me, I'm still their biggest fan. I'm out. All good. Yeah, stuff happens. The guy, he is Mr. Bronco.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. He's Mr. Bronco. So
he's been with that organization 28 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time,
Real long time. Yep.
And he's won 3 Super Bowls, 2 as a quarterback, 1 as a GM. He's made money. Obviously, you go from a star quarterback to the front office to a GM, and then even a consultant. They're paying him big money as a consultant. What else do you need in life? You're done. Ride off into the sunset and enjoy life.
Yeah, go do your thing, man. Yeah.
Do that Barrett Brooks thing. just ride off into the sunset.
Go fix some boats and cars.
Yeah, work on motorcycles, cars, boats. Enjoy life.
Exactly.
Bro, I'm on with you guys 3 hours a day. You talking about enjoy life.
So you think you don't enjoy being with? This is a hobby for you.
No, it's not. You think I would just do this as a hobby?
Yes, because you love us.
Chris, we need to make some movement on this. We don't know what's going on right now as far as the what are we 12 days out from the anniversary. We'll get on it. We'll get on it, Chris.
We cannot do it from my patio deck because that would mean I would have to entertain these gentlemen for several hours. And
Derek would be like, "Okay, you guys could arrive at 11:58.
Yeah,
right. You need to depart at
3:02.
Yeah, 3:02.
Be in your car.
There better be cars revving, and yeah.
I mean, like, don't touch that. Get out the fridge.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
We'll be handcuffed to the railing.
I would hire security detail
with a bucket in case you have to go to the bathroom. We get a bucket. Yeah.
He'd sick that ferocious chihuahua on us.
Yep.
Oh, that would be funny. I would do that. Rob Ellis be sitting there like this. Yeah, coming up next. Hey, what you doing?
Whoa, what? Yeah. Oh my God. All right. So a couple other things. We didn't get to the corners. So yesterday we did quarterbacks, which is fun. So we're doing these sort of breakdowns, knowing it's not 100% a position the Eagles may target high or target at all. Like quarterbacks, I don't think they're targeting quarterback. Okay, but we did that yesterday. But cornerbacks is something they may target, despite restructuring and extending Slay. Despite bringing back Bradbury, those guys are both in their 30s. We know how that position is. You can hit a wall relatively quickly. We saw the Eagles do this years ago when they drafted Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown when they had Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent. I'm not saying it's happening for sure, but it's not completely out of the question. If one of these studs drops, it's a possibility. So let's dig in, guys. You want to look at what we have here, top 10. I will tell you this, and I mentioned this to you guys in the pre-show meeting. I'm a little surprised. I don't know that he's necessarily fallen, but he's a little lower ranked than I thought he was going to be. Kelee Ringo out of Georgia. So I thought he'd be a little bit higher. I thought he'd be 5-ish, 6-ish. A lot of these mocks have him at 10, even lower in some cases.
Yep.
Could be a steal late if that's the case.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barrett.
You talking about a guy that runs a 4.3 40, 6'2", about 210, has all the intangibles to be a great player at the next level. Reminds me a lot of his length and how he runs, like Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? You look at him, he kind of carries himself like a Jalen Ramsey. He was just uncut. He's an uncut diamond, not refined. So right now he's working out with Richard Sherman. And Sherman's trying to show him the ropes. You know, you take Richard Sherman and his lackluster speed, and you take his technique, which allowed him to play at a great level at the NFL level. You take him to get he's able to transfer some of that, you know, skill set to him. This could be a sleeper in this draft. He could be a sleeper in the draft.
He is a prototypical hand-to-hand combat cornerback. The dude is physical, fearless, can cut on a dime. He can turn, twist and turn on a dime. He has that size. He has that Seattle Seahawks size that they like. They like big cornerbacks and big safeties. He has the perfect attributes to make that transition. Dude is athletic. I think his pro day he ran a 4.36, if I'm not mistaken. 4.36 for a corner. For a corner?
That's 6'2".
At 6'2", 210, running a 4.3. How has he dropped down the board? I don't get. You know what happens though? A lot of times, it's the gamesmanship of it. You know, these dudes slide up and down boards, team stuff, and then stuff starts coming out, and then all of a sudden, there's a team or two that's sitting in the weeds that can't wait to grab them because whatever. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Their tactics all the time, stuff will be put out. And I'm not going to say teams put it out there, but somebody puts it out there on purpose to see if a player will slide right to where they're sitting at a position of draft. It's one of the oldest tactics in the game in terms of trying to get players to fall. We've seen that happen time and time again with a number of players. You know, especially in the social media era we live in, how is it that the stuff that comes out is stuff that happened years ago, but you don't hear about it January, February at the combine. You don't hear that at the pro day workouts. All of a sudden on draft night, this stuff comes up. It's premeditated.
Yeah.
Bro, and I think it has more to do, not necessarily Ringo dropping. I think it's more so guys after their workouts, after they ran the 40, after their measurables were put on display, they went up as far as their draftability, which kind of pushed him down a little bit. I think guys around him got better, and I think that's the reason why he's at the point where he's at. Other guys may have gotten better at their positions, and which, you know, allowed them to jump over him. Because, you know, I mean, it's just in doing my research and my breakdowns and watching film on everybody. Like guys like Cam Smith is jumping off the board. Even my, you know, K-State guy, Julius Brents, corner from K-State, long, rangy. I think he played okay, but he went from being like a top 18 guy. Now he's sitting around about 8. And, you know, that kind of shocked me that they're thinking he can be that high as far as the best corners in this draft.
Well, you hit on the guy who, Barrett, I'm a huge fan of. I love the kid out of South Carolina, Kansas.
Yes.
I think this dude, look, and a couple of the things I saw, he was ranked around 5, 6, somewhere around there.
Yep.
I think he might be the guy.
In the second round?
He might be that guy. Eagles trade down out of 30 and grab him in the second round, man. I think he's a monster. I'm a huge fan. He's
one of those guys that he didn't get a lot of statistics. And the reason why he didn't get a lot of statistics, just watch the film. He never gave him an opportunity. They thought he was open. The receiver was open when he's around.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They just didn't throw at him because the receiver that he was covering was not open. He's good, man. He's really good.
And they have a really good history of producing at that position.
I
mean, J.C. Horn, Stephon Gilmore, among others. Like there's a history there.
He is really good. You know, he's my sleeper also. He's one of those sleepers that I've been, you know, kind of looking at, you know.
He's 6 foot, but he's got the wingspan of a 6'3" guy. He's got arms, man, that go for days, which you know, obviously is big, you know, when you're talking about that position. But man, I'm telling you, that's the guy. 4.4 speed. He's got the vertical and the broad. He's got all that stuff, but he's also got a lot of dog in him too, like in a good way, dog. So I like anyway. So most of the stuff I've seen, you guys tell me where you're at. Your top 3, your top 2 are Witherspoon and Gonzalez, right? For the most part, that's a consensus.
Absolutely.
The others, where it starts to get a little, you know, whatever. Deonte Banks, the kid out of Maryland, is getting a lot of love.
Even more so than Joey Porter.
More so than Porter.
Porter's starting to drop a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Some people think Porter to Pittsburgh is a pretty good option. I think that's possible.
Yep.
Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State.
Another good player. He's kind of skinny though. He's frail.
Yeah.
But he doesn't play like he knifes through there. Like if he sees a screen coming and they're trying to go out and block him, he'll still go make the play, man. He plays a lot more aggressive than his slender frame looks at.
I'll give you another one that you said there, Barrett. I'll give you another one, kid that I like that I've watched. I got to see him a few times. And then this kid, Darius Rush out of South Carolina.
Yep.
This kid's 6'2", and he ran a 4.35 also at the combine, 6'2". Now they're talking about how he may transition to safety, but this is the kid that South Carolina like to use off the edge to blitz a lot. And supposedly matches up well with the tight ends and can also really blanket running backs coming out of the backfield. South Carolina, because they didn't have the greatest of seasons, didn't get a lot of national notoriety. A lot of the players that could be good NFL players are not really talked about. But this kid, Darius Rush, he has that frame that we were just talking about. He's long, leans 200 pounds, can run like the wind. And another guy, they think he can play both zone coverage and man-to-man coverage well in the right system.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other one that I thought was kind of interesting, and if I'm mispronouncing his first name, I apologize. Tre'Vius Hodges Tomlinson.
TCU.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Aggressive.
Yep.
Gets in your face. In fact, he actually took Kansas State's best receiver out of the game. Like, just made him so he was, for a majority of the game, he was covering him and totally shut him down. Totally shut him down.
The only problem is he is on the shorter side.
Yep.
He's not
like
5'8".
Yeah.
No, he's not even 5'8".
He runs a 4.4 though. He ran a legit 4.4.
He's tough for that size.
Too. Yeah.
I mean, but look, we've seen guys succeed who aren't the tallest guys in the world. But
and
anybody else?
He's like an Avonte Maddox.
He is. Anybody else jump out at you guys that you like?
Tyreek Stevenson. Even though he spent the majority of his career in Georgia and played a lot in Georgia, he transferred and went to Miami the last 2 years. Really, really good ball skills. He's a shutdown outside corner. You know what I'm saying? He's a legitimate shutdown outside cornerback. He'll be a perfect compliment to anybody, in the league. He'll come in and at least, try to play a little bit. He can play inside and outside.
What's fair for you guys in terms of like if they, which I don't think any of us think this, but let's hypothetically say they stay pat at 10 and 30. So right now, the Eagles selecting 10, 30, 62, 94, 219, 248. Could they go 62 with a corner? Could they go higher? What do you think? Yeah.
I think they need to stay in that first round, whether it be a 10, whether it be a 30, whether they trade back. I still want them to get a corner in that first round. Because, when you think about the cornerback position, it's one of the pillar positions that you need, that you have to, really can make or break your defense, just like the starting left tackle or the backside of a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? One of the two. If you got a left-hand quarterback, it's your right tackle. Right-hand quarterback is your left tackle. It's one of those cornerstone positions that you have to worry about, that you have to put somebody there that you don't have to think about. You don't have to worry about them. You know what I'm saying? You put him over there. All right, I'm good now. I'm not thinking about him anymore. Can you sit back and look at how much of a factor it is to have those two guys at either side of Jalen Hurts? You don't have to worry about Jalen Hurts' blind side or what's in front of him, because you have two guys there that's going to lock everything down. Jalen is spoiled, bro, to have those type of, and then to have a center that's a quarterback also, who calls the defenses out. What they're supposed to do will change the where which way the line is being called to. He'll change the play. He has a luxury there that I doubt seriously in his progression he'd be this far advanced without Kelsey. Kelsey has shown him a lot and made him a better player also. He'll tell you that too.
There's one other kid that I can't wait to see where he falls in the draft in terms of cornerbacks, because He's ranked in the top 7 in terms of cornerback prospects. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State.
Yes.
He's 6'1", but he's only like a $167, soaking wet. He has, he has that body type of like Avante Samuel. Avante Samuel was not Asante Samuel. Asante Samuel was not a big body guy. He was toned, muscular, but he's not. This kid's 6. He ran a 4.3, ran a 4.35, and he's been rated across the board as like one of the top 7 cornerbacks, but hardly anybody's talking about him. And people feel if he was like 190, 195, he may shoot up in the top 3 or 4 cornerbacks coming off the board come draft day. But you got to put some weight on this kid. You're not going to win hand-to-hand combats with these receivers nowadays weighing 167 pounds.
Right.
You got a whole lot of DK Metcalfs in the NFL nowadays, man. And AJ Browns. There's a whole lot of those guys. They used to be a novelty years ago. Those are the norm now when it comes to receivers who built like Greek guys that can run like the wind. And you got to have these cornerbacks now that can match them with the physicality as well as the ability to run with them. This kid, Emmanuel Forbes, can run with anybody, but can he sustain the rigors of hand-to-hand combat? And who knows? He may get into a scheme where it's exclusively zone defense. But there are times when zone defensive players have to go man-to-man. You have to play press coverage, depending on down the situation. But this kid's intriguing, and I'm curious to see where he jumps off the board. Who takes a flyer on this kid in the draft and what round he goes in?
Let me sneak this in real quick because Barry, I know you got to hop. But the Ravens said they're not opposed to taking a quarterback in the first round, which leads to a lot of speculation. They're picking late. They'd have to really move up if they're trying to get one of these, the top 5-ish, the sort of big boys, if you will. I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is so in flux right now. I don't know really what to make of where things are with them. It's a very strange situation.
How are we in this situation?
Yeah, it should never have gotten to this.
Right. What are both sides doing? This deal should have been done last year. And
it's a great question. Done. Yeah, it should have been done last summer. You're exactly or last offseason. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. It should have been done last summer. I don't know, man. I don't know how do you put yourself in a situation like this, knowing that at the end of the day, he is a franchise quarterback and he's not on the contract and played all last year on his rookie deal. This is he's going into his 5th year, 6th year, his 6th year, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, let's run. Let's let Barrett. Go ahead, make your point because I know Barrett's got to roll.
Okay, real quick. Let's look at it from both perspectives real quick. Yep. Number one, after the money that's been flying around the last year with the quarterback situation, there's no question Lamar Jackson feels and should be paid as one of the top signal callers in the NFL. From a managerial standpoint, as much as I want to pay this kid, I want to proceed with caution because of what has happened to him over the last couple of years. I mean, football is a risk no matter what. I get that. But there should have been a meeting of the minds by now. There's no question. This has gotten out of control, and it's becoming an embarrassment, I think, more so for the Ravens than Lamar Jackson, simply because the Ravens have come out and told us 3 times since January, we're committed to moving forward with Lamar Jackson. Yep. Now your GM has come out and said, well, there's a possibility we could take a quarterback. What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's been handled poorly. Eric Costas handled this thing very poorly for an organization that used to always run things the right way. It doesn't feel like that to me anymore. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. All right, Barrett.
Be good, B. Brooks.
Go do your thing, man. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it, dude. Take care. All right, Gunnar, let's get a quick one in. Mike Sealski, columnist from the Philadelphia Inquirer, is going to join us, and we'll talk to Mike about everything, including Mike might be in the movie business at some point. We'll see.
And maybe we can get us a role, man.
Talk about it. Gunnar, we don't do that to him. All right. And we want this film to be successful. Like, what do we, I mean,
well, we don't need speaking roles. You know how many people get in movies, dude, just when you walk
cameos,
by a scene?
Just our handsome faces. I
just want to walk by a scene or something, man.
We're box office. All right, let's get a quick E and we'll talk to Mike when we come back. Derek, Barrett, Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Knowing who to trust with your finances can be a very, very precarious situation. I found the right person, and I want you to have that right person as well. That's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business, you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Trust me when I tell you that. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can email him as well, Murray, MURRAY.Jim @principal.com. That's Murray.Jim